94.3 The Dude is very grateful to our men and women in uniform. We're proud to recognize local members of our military by turning the spotlight on them right now in our Soldier Salute.
I'm your host, United States Marine Corps veteran Ethan Stitch Gardner, and on today's Soldier Salute, I have downtown Columbia Recruiting Station Commander, Staff Sergeant Aaron Gilliard. Staff Sergeant, thanks so much for being here. Thank you so much for your service. You served over 15 years in the United States Army. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your road to the United States Army.
It all started here in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm born and raised right here in Columbia. I'm a 2005 graduate of C.A. Johnson High School, one of the local high schools. Also did 3 years at A.C. Fleur High School. I grew up in a local neighborhood, in a low-income neighborhood. We bounced from house to house, sometimes being homeless. My senior year in high school, I did not know what I wanted to do. I did do 4 years in JRTC, but I knew I couldn't go to college, so why not go join the Army? I knew I wanted to do something to start a platform for my nieces and nephews, and I wanted them to have someone that they can look up to with a positive influence on their life. So I thought the Army would give me that platform for them to look up to, which now I have one niece who's actually in Romania now, part of the Army, which I actually enlist her in the Army.
That's so awesome. Is it cool coming full circle, 15 years right back to your hometown?
It really does. It's really cool when it comes full circle. I see that what I did not go in vain. I see that it made a difference. It made a positive impact on their lives.
You spent 9th through 12th grade in the JROTC program. Tell me about your time in JROTC and why you believe it's still a valuable asset for the youth in the community.
I knew since 8th grade I wanted to do it. Of course, number one, being a young kid, I like the uniform. I went to A.C. Fleur 9th through 11th grade, and so they had, of course, the Army uniforms were close to Fort Jackson. I always wanted to be in the uniform, being in the JRTC program, being in the hood, just sitting on the block or whatever the case may be. I know JRTC will give me that structure that I needed and to apply it to my outside life, which it did. I started off as a young private in JRTC, moved all the way up to battalion commander my 11th grade year at A.C. Fleur High School. From that time, my family moved, and I went to C.A. Johnson High School to their JRTC program. They invited me with open arms. It was an Air Force JRTC program, so it was a little bit different, but it still provided me with that foundation of not getting in trouble, ensuring that I do the right thing, because I knew I was in that uniform, and I knew the leadership there had high hopes for me, and they knew what my capabilities were.
Did you find when you got into the Army that there were some extra benefits that came from being in JROTC for so long?
Yes, one of the biggest benefits now is actually when you join the Army, you can actually get promoted by being in JRTC. So anybody who's coming in off the street, you'll come in the Army as a E1, which is just a private. Being in JRTC, if you have those 2 years JRTC, you'll come in as a E2.
You talked to me earlier about how you originally came from a low-income family in Colombia, and that the Army seemed to be the only viable option to getting out. Looking back on it now, tell me about the experience of going from a low-income family to having a solid career in the United States Army.
I have an awesome mom. My mom worked 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Sometimes that wasn't enough. We bounced from place to place, or even staying with family. Our lowest point was one time we was actually home. It was no fault of my mom. She still had those 2 jobs. It just didn't provide enough income to actually afford housing. So coming from that into the military, it has drastically changed the way of life. I always knew growing up that being in the bottom, you can do more than just that. You didn't have to basically succumb to your circumstances. There are other resources out there or other organizations that can provide you with everything you need. And for me, that was the Army. The Army provided me with the lifestyle that I only dreamed of when I was a kid.
You talked earlier to me about how you set a great example for some of your nieces and nephews, taking this big step to provide a better life for yourself. Tell me about your nieces and nephews and how they benefited from the image that you put out.
My nieces and nephews most definitely benefited because they see me travel the world. My niece saw how the Army treated me in the way of life, and her senior year, she actually joined the Army, and now she's in Romania. My niece, who's in A.C. Fleur right now, she's thinking about it. She has some work to do but she's thinking about the Army as well.
A good old southern South Carolina boy from Columbia. You hadn't left the state as a child, but maybe one time to go to Atlanta. You join the Army and you find yourself across the ocean in Germany with the 9th Engineer Battalion for 3.5 years. Tell me about that huge transition from good old South Carolina boy to now an international traveler.
It was my first time on a flight. I did my advanced individual training in Fort Lee, Virginia. Then I was off to Germany. So I caught the Greyhound back to Fort Lee, Virginia. From there, went to the airport. I had no earthly idea what I was doing. Getting the ticket and all the other stuff, I had to ask questions of where did I go. But once I got to the terminal, boarded the plane, and I was off to Germany. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I think a 12-hour flight. It was probably even longer than that. But once I landed in Germany, the airport was really huge. As soon as I exited the airport, there was a group of soldiers. I looked to my right, and the only thing I saw was taxis that was Mercedes-Benz. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm in a new place. But it was awesome. My 3.5 years in Germany, I've traveled throughout Germany. Of course, I deployed once to Iraq. After I got back from my deployment, I spent my 21st birthday walking the streets of Berlin. So somebody from Columbia, South Carolina, walking the streets of Berlin on that 21st birthday, it's a memory I could never forget.
You're the downtown Columbia recruiting station commander for the United States Army. You've been in the position for about 5 years. You moved over to do this permanently. Congratulations. I know that was a big thing, something you enjoyed to do. Is South Carolina providing the soldier that you are looking for the United States Army?
I would say South Carolina is most definitely providing what we're looking for. Sometimes it's hard being in the environment that we're in. At first, I was at the Denver recruiting station. Being in the Denver recruiting station, I actually recruited at my own high school, which is C.A. Johnson High School. The test scores for the ASVAB wasn't high like in most areas. You had to actually mentor the students, and it's kind of like recruiting your own image. Me, myself, I was a person who, when I took the ASVAB, I didn't pass the first time, but my recruiter didn't give up on me. So being in that environment in Denver allowed me to recruit my own and ensure that I recruited the Army's best. And then now, since then, I converted over or reclassed over to becoming a permanent recruiter because I felt like I was making a difference. I felt like I had the mindset for it. I felt like I had the ability for it, and I just had the passion for it. And as being a recruiter, you have to have those things to be successful out here. And South Carolina most definitely is providing us with prime candidate for the Army.
If there was somebody listening right now that really had a serious desire to consider the United States Army, where could they go? Who could they call to get in touch with you?
They can come down to the downtown recruiting station. We're on all social media platforms as Columbia Downtown Recruiting Station. Or they can contact me, the station commander, at 803-369-1043. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, and I will most definitely put you in contact with one of my recruiters, and we can show you through the process of how to join the Army.
In your time as the station commander of the downtown Columbia recruiting station, you have got a lot of soldiers into the Army that come from those low-income homes like you yourself came from as a young man. Is that a fulfilling thing for you to bring these kids out of these low-income homes and help them step into a possible career?
It's most definitely fulfilling. It's one of the best feelings ever to actually have someone walk them through the process, to build a rapport with them, to know their situation, and see myself in them, see them go through basic training, see them go through that job training, and then once they get to their actual unit, they send them an email or send me a text or give me a phone call and say, "Hey, Sergeant Gilliard, I appreciate everything that you did for me." I think that's one of the best feelings in the world. Right now, I still get chills over it because I always get letters or phone calls or text messages about how I changed their lives. And being able to change someone's life by showing them all the stuff that I went through, showing them that I am them. So being able to see that come full circle, it's amazing. It's the best feeling ever.
Staff Sergeant, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your service. You deployed to Ramadi, Iraq from 2007 to 2009, one of the most dangerous places in the world during that time. Ramadi, Iraq was a hotbed for the insurgency. You are not an infantryman by trade. You're a 92 Yankee unit supply specialist. However, during the time you were in Ramadi, you volunteered on multiple occasions to be a gunner on a truck, be a driver, go out on patrol, build the infrastructure of the bases that are still there to this day. Tell me about the dynamic of being a non-infantryman volunteering to go out in one of the most dangerous places on the planet.
Being deployed for Ramadi, Iraq, I was with the best unit ever with the Charlie Company 9th Engineer Battalion. With that Engineer Battalion, they taught me everything that they did. The mindset of the Army or of supply specialists in general is, the only thing we do is hide out and order supplies or whatever. But I didn't want to be that. They taught me everything they did as far as demolition, route clearance, building combat outposts. So when I deployed to Iraq, I was like, you know what? Hey, these guys are rolling out. Yeah, this is the worst place to be in the world at this time. But I want to see outside of the world. I don't want to come all the way to Iraq and not experience what everybody else is experiencing.
Thanks for